Shabbat Shalom once again, and once again it is our deep pleasure to have some time to learn with our dear friend Rabbi Hillel Silverman. Good morning, Hillel. How you doing?
Good morning, Rabbi. How are you doing?
And a wonderful Shabbat Shalom. It's Parshat Yitro, one of the core Parshiot. We have the 10 Commandments and so much more. So give us an introduction to this Parshat, please.
The name of the Parsha is Yitro, one of the first words of the Sedra this morning. How do we get to name Sedras, Parshiot? Well, figure there are 52 weeks of the year. Each one has its own name from the first words of the Sedra. 5 of the 52 have first names of people who are mentioned in the Parshat. This morning, it's called Yitro. Yitro is the father-in-law of Moses. My children who live in Encino have a beautiful dog. It's a golden retriever, and the dog's name, believe it or not, is Yitro. Why do they call their dog Yitro? Well, they searched for a name, and they discovered that their dog, the golden retriever, was born during the week of Yitro. So they named their dog Yitro. I doubt if there's another dog in all of Encino that's called Yitro. I enjoy Yitro very much. For one thing, I speak Hebrew to him, and he understands. He barks every now and then in a soft, gentle manner, especially now. Every day he stands by the door for deliveries from the grocery stores. They bring it in, and he barks his gratitude. He is a very, very fine dog, and I mention him only because the Torah reading this morning is Yitro. Of course, in Israel, believe it or not, there are hundreds of thousands of dogs with Hebrew names from the Bible, from the Talmud. As a matter of fact, their owners speak Hebrew to them on all occasions. A movie came out, as you remember, a long time ago, 70 years ago, called The 10 Commandments. And this movie portrayed the people that we're going to read about this morning. The movie portrays Jethro with great dignity. He's a fine father-in-law. He goes to meet Moses, his son-in-law, and wants to help him in his work. And he says to him, my son-in-law, you are working too hard. I'm going to help you. I'm to lessen your load. And I advise you to appoint different judges in addition to yourself, so they will take care of all of the minor cases, and you shall be approached only to adjudicate a major case. That was good advice, and it helped his son-in-law, Moses. I think that Joseph must have attended Yale management school, but he was very, very helpful. In the movie, you have portrayed many different characters. You have portrayed Yul Brynner. There was a character who crossed the Red Sea reluctantly. All the heroes crossed the Red Sea except for one. He complained. He coveted at every foot that he walked. He said, it's muddy, it's dirty, it's smelly, it's terrible. The fish are dying. And he finally came with the others to the sea. I don't remember who played his part in the movie, but if I were the casting director, I would say that Don Rickles would be fit for his part. And of course, who played Moses? None other than Charlton Heston. He was tall and handsome and articulate. He was everything that Moses, The real Moses was not. Moses was not tall. Moses was not articulate. He had a speech impediment, and he certainly was not of a handsome nature. But this movie is very, very interesting, and I can't put it out of my mind. So let's get back now to this morning's Torah reading. As Rabbi Feinstein said, the heart of the reading is the revelation of the Ten Commandments. What an experience this must have been. It was lightning, it was thundering, the earth was shaking, the shofar was sounding, and the Ten Commandments were suddenly delivered on Mount Sinai to Moses and to the Jewish people. It was a blueprint, the Ten Commandments, for a wonderful, wonderful civilization. It would be wonderful if we could follow these words today. There would be peace. There would be no murder. There would be no stealing, no dishonesty, no prison, no army. What a world this would have been. 10 words. In Hebrew, it's not called the 10 Commandments. It's called Aseret HaDvarim. In rabbinic literature, it's Ezer HaDivrot. 10 Commandments, the word comes from the Greek Septuagint, translated for Greek Jews, Decalogue, the 10 Commandments. And of course, in the movie was the star who played Moses himself, Charlton Heston. There were 2 episodes I think were very interesting. When he stood on Mount Sinai as Moses and received the 10 Commandments, suddenly his white hair turned black. His black hair turned white. And I remember how he depicted in the movie the 10 Commandments. They were lightning bolts of lightning, one after the other, into the rock. There were 2 tablets, Shnei Luchot Habrit. Philo and the Midrash tells us that 5 of the commandments were on one tablet and 5 on the other, held by Moses. According to the Jerusalem, there were entire 10 commandments were inscribed on each of the tablets. The first tablet has to do with directives between God and man, and the second between man and man. As you probably know, there are 2 versions of the 10 Commandments. One of them in Exodus that we read this morning. The other one we'll be reading in 4 months, in a number of months when we come to Deuteronomy, and it is repeated. It is repeated because Moses is lecturing to the people, and he tells them, and I remind you of these commandments. And there are some discovery, not many, between them. I'll get to them later. I'd like to review with you quickly these 10 words, these 10 commandments, these wonderful, wonderful directives for human behavior. The first one, I am the Lord thy God that brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. But is this a commandment? We're not told to do anything. And there are certain Protestant sects, for instance, the Lutherans, who do not regard this as a commandment. They take as the first commandment what we take as the second commandment. So where do they get their 10th commandment? They go to the 10th commandment and divide it into 2. But for us, it is a commandment. We begin with God. Ethics and morality begin with the divine. That's commandment number 2, there shall have no other gods before thee. There are no other gods to be drawn, to be made. No images of God in the heavens above, in the earth beneath, or in the sea underneath, nor shall we bow to them. Many misinterpret the second commandment as saying we should not make depictions of God. And this, of course, did not help the Jewish creativity, because in the Middle Ages you had the Renaissance of Rembrandt and Michelangelo, but Jewish art was confined to ritual objects, not to paintings, not to drawings, of a summing box, a menorah, a candlestick, a tefillin. It was much later than the Renaissance that the Jews suddenly developed art. Modigliani and Soutine and Epstein came much later. I know if you go to Jerusalem today with a camera and you try to take a photograph of an Orthodox, a Jew, he will hide his face. It's not allowed to take pictures. I remember an experience with the Marines in Parris Island, South Carolina, over 70 years ago. It was a large post. I remember the post chaplain's name. It was Jones. And he came to me, a Jewish chaplain. He said, I need your help. I have a young man in the brig in prison. He's not Jewish, but the other chaplains cannot help him. He refuses to take a photograph, and you need a photograph to be taken for an ID card. Maybe you can talk him out of it. So I went to the brig and I had a discussion with him. And I said, why will you not take a photograph? He said, because of the commandment, thou shalt not have any other gods besides me. And I said to him, yes, but it says you shall not depict a graven image and worship it. Nobody is asking you to worship your picture. Thank you, chaplain. And he left the brig, went back to his barracks, and he remained in the Marines for 30 years. I think he ended his career as a general. Commandment number 3, thou shalt not have any vain images. You shall not bow down to any vain image. You shall not swear. That's not what it means. It is not against swearing. It means you shall not blaspheme. You shall not take an oath that by God I promise to do this and that or the other. That is the meaning. That not take the name of the Lord in vain. Number 4, great commandment. Keep the Sabbath. It's the only Jewish ritual in the 10 commandments, not Yom Kippur, not the dietary laws, but keeping the Sabbath. It's the first law of labor legislation. You shall work 6 days during the week and rest on the 7th. It is good to rest on the 7th, but it's also important to labor on the 7th day. Menucha, labor, physical rest, physical and mental rest. You have in the book of Deuteronomy, keep the Sabbath, shamor. Here you have zachor, remember. And there's a difference between keeping the Sabbath and regarding this, keeping the Sabbath and remembering the Sabbath. There are some of our people who remember it's a Sabbath day as they go about their business and desecrate the meaning of the 7th day. We have to remember it, but we also have to keep it. In the prayer Lecha Doti on Friday night, you have the poet Al-Kabet saying that God recited this commandment together in the same voice, Shamor v'Zachor, keep and remember in the same voice. You have a wonderful concept of pikuach nefesh, that one can desecrate the Sabbath when it comes to health, when it comes to life. The Sabbath is also called an indication of the Olam Haba, in the next world. All days will be like the Sabbath day. So much now for the 5th commandment. The first commandment. The 5th commandment. Honor your father and your mother. And of course, nothing is as important in our faith as the family, the mishpacha. Parents in Hebrew are called horim, which means teachers. The mother and father are teachers of the values and the tradition of our religion. There is a wonderful relationship between the generations in our religion. Love, help, sacrifice, kibbud aviyim, honoring father and mother. The Talmud tells us that parents are in the place of God when it comes to the children. Honor your father and mother, that thy days may be long. That is not a guarantee that we'll live a long time, but it means that our people will live a long time. Our people live forever because of the family home. The sixth commandment, thou shalt not murder. Tir saf. It does not say taharog, kill. And self-defense is permitted in our religion, but not murder. When speaks ill of a fellow man, when and embarrasses a fellow man, it is called malpin. Do not malpin your fellow man, meaning do not drain his face of blood. A lashon hara, a wicked tongue, a gossiping tongue, is also a form of murder because you are murdering his reputation. So murder means to not just to kill, but to deprive one's person of his identity. The seventh commandment is adultery, infidelity. The next commandment, the eighth commandment, is thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not cheat. And there are many forms of stealing. According to the rabbis, when you borrow and you not intend to return that which you have borrowed, that is stealing. Another form, if you find something but do not seek the true owner, that also is a form of stealing. The ninth commandment, thou shalt not bear witness. This refers to judicial procedure. You shall not bear witness and testify against the person unlawfully. And finally, the 10th commandment, thou shalt not covet. That which does not belong to you legally is not yours. You shall not covet. You shall not desire it. This is the only commandment that has nothing to do with behavior. It has to do with feelings. You shouldn't feel that that which belongs to your fellow man belongs to you. These are the 144 words of the 10 commandments given on Mount Sinai to Moses 3,500 years ago. What a wonderful this world would be if we would just observe these commands. There would be peace. There would be no war. There would be no prisons. There would be no adultery, no family breakups. 144 words of a blueprint, a wonderful blueprint for humanity. These are the 10 commandments. I prefer the concept of 10 commandments than the 10 words. But what I don't advocate is what some people do. They do not call them the 10 commandments, but the 10 suggestions. These are not suggestions. These are moral principles. If we keep these principles that we read tomorrow morning, the world would change for the better. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi. Thank you for sharing your blueprint for a better world and for your wonderful observations about the 10 words, now the 10 commandments for us all. Thank you so very much, and stay healthy and stay well.
Thank you, and a good Shabbat.
Shabbat Shalom.